What's today's episode, guys?
Avatar!
The Last Airbender.
And if you say the blue guy, we fighting.
Oh.
That is on site. No M Night, because that's also on site.
That doesn't
Fighting.
exist.
There are no Avatar movies in Ba Sing Se.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Sorry, they don't exist.
Welcome back to another episode of Nerds on the Rounds, guys. It's your host, Sebastian.
It's your boy Law.
And your boy Tone from across the hall.
And today we have joining us
Alex from Wayward Raven.
Lorisse from Inbeon Studios.
And Joseph or Steady Hands from Twitch and the Other Controller podcast.
Quarantine has brought back our love for Avatar because Netflix is like, boom, I'm going to drop this for you guys. So how does everybody feel that we've gotten our love returned back for Avatar?
I've seen it. I watched it for the first time.
So Tone watched it for the first time. I watched it for I don't know how many times, but watching it all over again was so satisfying. Like I cherish these episodes so much more now, especially like they wrote the filler episodes so well.
Yeah, and it didn't feel like filler. You know?
Yeah.
It was the most complete, and that's why I had, I know people still talk about Korra, but I had an aversion to really diving into Korra because of my deep love and appreciation for how perfect Aang's arc was. But then I really gave it a good shot, and now look, I have all of them. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, Korra is a standalone. All of them are different. Like, I would love to see Kyoshi's arc. Like, her entire story.
Tone is heavy Kyoshi.
I'm a Kyoshi stan. It's pretty serious.
Yeah.
Kyoshi is legit. I mean, she lived to 272. She's 7 or 8 feet tall. Probably with a size 13 chancla that can slap you upside the head. I'm all for it, man.
And she had no problem throwing Aang under the bus.
She
instantly.
didn't.
Yo,
She did it.
Hilarious.
They're like,
Kyoshi is from the Bronx. Fight me on it.
I hit it. And
Yo, I love they go to that village and they're like, Avatar Kyoshi killed our leader Chen, and they're all like, no, she didn't.
She's like,
goes up on the spot and throws him on the bus. Like, I did it, I'll do it again.
No, I did it. I killed him. I killed him so much that I split away from an island from him.
Like, no qualms. Didn't even stutter. Like, it was beautiful.
I did it, and what?
For me, I love their differences, though, Aang and Korra, because he didn't want to be the Avatar. He was running away from his destiny. When they show her the first episode, she's like, yeah, I'm the Avatar.
They also told her from very young that she was the Avatar.
Yeah.
Versus
when they were searching, when they were searching for the Avatar.
Well, right, but like think of the difference between Aang. Aang didn't learn he was the Avatar until he was like just before he ran away. Where he's already almost 12, 11?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
At most, and then you figure Korra learned about 2 or 3 that she was the Avatar and fully was just like, yes, I'm the Avatar, I'm with it, let's do it, I'm down. And being the Avatar for both of them had very different responsibilities, very different
That's true.
aspects and viewpoints, because you are the Avatar who is now at the peak of this war, and now you're an Avatar in this time of peace, or supposed peace.
Yeah, Aang was like the Avatar during a period of war, but Korra was like it wasn't just peace, she's like a crime story. Hers, like the way when I was watching, it was like, she's a superhero. Aang is like, the Frodo, basically. It's like medieval fantasy story. She's a superhero at that start. And that's like, I was like seeing the political intrigue. That's, Aemon was her villain, but he's a comic book villain. And that's just, it was almost like they were trying to do a noir style thing, So I was like, and I just loved how not just the stories were different, but every character is different. It's not like, okay, here's the character from the Aang series, but with different hair or something like that.
No.
I also love the humanity that it lended to. Whereas Aang was super spiritual by nature, by how he was raised, and Korra had to fight to get into the spirit world, to get into that setting, that mind frame. There was a block for her, and the humanity that lends to makes her so much more relatable, and so much more real. And I think that's why I think that is for the fan base, both a gift and a curse, because I feel like the fan base doesn't like how real she is. Whereas I can appreciate that because it lends to like what we see in all of art. Like, why do we relate to certain comic book characters? Why do there's a realness about them that we're like, yeah, I definitely see myself in them. And I definitely saw myself in her. And I'm pretty sure there's so many people that did. Although, you know, and I'm always coming for the fan base. I'm like, don't be coming for my Korra, because I really feel that her character development was so thought out. Even though it was short, even though it was completely different from Aang, it was so thought out. And it was one time that
they kept a lot of parallels.
I think what happened for me when I look at the character, comparing her to Aang and Korra, because again, first of all, Legend of Korra had such a great show to follow. I didn't see any character development for her in season 1. I started seeing it in season 2.
Exactly.
Season 1, I felt was more of the world building. That's why it's like it took me a while to get through it. So that was like really the focus there. In season 2, you start seeing that character development, and season 3, they fully blown it out the window when it came down to her development, especially when it got to the point, because like you said, she had to fight to be spiritual.
I mean, season 3 is called change. Like, it's literally called change.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't become spiritual until she had callback and she met Uncle Iroh. And what better spiritual teacher than the most spiritual character that was in season 1 than Uncle Iroh. And
that was fire. That was a dope crossover. That was insanely good.
And if you notice around there, that's when like even more of that development showed in the character. So I just felt like her development came a little bit late in the game.
Yeah.
But again, it
was necessary, because if you figure if you show her grow into it right out the gate and accept and change and grow so quick, where's the story? It's not realistic, and it's not for the betterment of this character that we know already is
which I get.
Not Aang, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. She had to prove from season 1 she's not Aang, so they have to do here she's doing everything that Aang wouldn't do, but ultimately she's an avatar. She's got to be a spiritual character.
Yeah.
So they took their time to bring her back into that, and even again, I'm halfway through season 3. She's not spiritual in the same way as Aang.
Right.
No. So let's talk about the world though. Like, how did you guys feel about the difference of the world? Like the whole change that we saw.
I've got a lot of opinions.
Go ahead.
A lot happens in 70 years.
Yes.
Well, yeah, that is true. I want to say from it's not just a tonal shift, but the art shift really kind of was jarring to me, because I was like, okay, I had to put myself in the mindset this is essentially the world grown up. Not only is Korra Aang grown up in that way in that story, but the world is mature, and it's a story that for the kids, I think, who grew up watching Aang's show, you know. So I personally as a sci-fi nerd, I love how they made this quasi steampunk world.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's now how do you have magic in this world? When they I thought it was kind of cool. In the first few episodes when they had Mako, literally he's working at a power plant by lightning bending into power plant.
They blended technology and spirit
with
and magic,
with the bending
so
overall.
So beautiful the way to talk about the art style. It was so beautifully done and created in a way, to Alex's point, that the viewers who grew up watching Aang, I agree. They saw this and they grew up with it, and it was beautifully done. I love the steampunk element. I love the technology and the way that it was evolving, even through the arc, even through all the seasons. The way that technology was evolving with the characters. I thought that was really fascinating.
I want to add to the art style though before we get.
I was going to add to the art style. I guess we're all adding to the art style.
Yeah, because if you look at it, going back, piggyback on that, there was a different art style for Korra. There was a different art style for Aang.
Yeah.
But then when you got into Wan's story,
son of a.
Just add on.
Yes.
Tell them how you really feel, Tone. Tell them how you really feel.
Yes, you haven't even finished the series. You can't say this. I can.
I had 3 episodes left.
Go ahead, Tone. Let them know. Let them know, Tone.
No. You're the artist. But no, you can elaborate more. I just wanted to say that to Alex's point that the art grew up with us. It was a very old traditional way of doing art. For the first Avatar, this is very new age, using more three-dimensional imagery, and then you go straight into Wan's story, and it's very watercolor. It's very basic, but it's really beautiful.
I love that.
At the same time. So like I watched Wan Part 1 at like 4:30 in the morning. I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch this and then go to bed. And I was like, oh, it's a history episode. And there's a part 2. I'm gonna watch the second one.
That lore, yo, that's how you get tone for anything, man.
Yeah,
like, yo, there's good. There's some good lore here. He's like, you know what?
But again, I do like that they use that to tell different time periods. That it was specific for that Avatar. And again, like you said, the art style for Korra is a mix with 3D because a lot of the machinery, such as the mech suits, the cars, and all that, a lot of that was done in 3D. Again, this was showing that this was a new world. What I do love, what they kept with, was the watercolor backgrounds. Again, the backgrounds were all painted.
But to the art style, talking about the art style in general of the entire series, both of them, I did appreciate the subtleties in the art styles in the original series. So there's a moment where Katara is going back with Zuko. She's like, I'm having my trip with Zuko now. And she goes back with Zuko to get revenge. And there's a darkness and a heaviness to the art style that is very clear that Katara's about to run some shit and do some really dark shit. And you have never seen that coloration, that darkness, that color palette in any other point in time. And that was very clear. It was very clear that this Cancer has now, Pisces waters has turned into a hurricane and she's about to come for you. And the other part of that was when we had the very emotional moments of when Iroh was at the tree. I forget the name of this episode, but everybody knows this episode. Iroh's at the tree and he's reflecting on his nephew that passed away. I mean, his son that passed away.
Tales of Ba Sing Se.
Thank you. And this entire episode was a completely different shift in the way that it was presented. Not necessarily the art style, but the way that the episode was presented.
I'm not allowed to show Dennis like covers of that song. Like I'll show him people doing beautiful covers. I'm like, this is beautiful. He'll be like, no. I'm like, no, I'm just trying to. He's like, nah, don't share that song ever. And I'm like, but it's so beautiful.
It is always
the guy that's always sharing Fullmetal Alchemist memes, like that's just right up your alley to do that.
No, I'm not even like that. Fullmetal Alchemist is a whole other thing. I don't care about that anymore.
Always sad.
But it's sad, but it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful scene.
It is
someone reanimated it. Like they showed them reanimating it. And the scene ended while the song was playing with Iroh's son standing above him. And it was so good. Come on. Why am I I know it feels
so sad.
I know, but let it be beautiful too.
Well, going back to the colors before I start bawling like a little kid.
I'm gonna cry.
You also notice with Iroh and Zuko, their palette changed too over the course of the arc. Not just like as they Iroh aged, his beard changed.
He got brolic for no reason. He got prison brolic.
He had a reason.
Literal character
development.
He had prison brolic.
And I love like the
beautiful
palette choices for like wardrobe based on where they're from. The little things, like even Mako and Bolin, who are brothers but are technically different elements. Like their eye color is different. Little wardrobe decals are different. But even like as they progress, especially in the Aang series, everyone as they grow, as they age. Like I even noticed Aang's footwear change. Like you notice by the end of the season, he's still wearing his firebender boots. The fro, it was cool. But like even like he's still wearing the firebender shoes, and every piece of his clothing is kind of a different element, which I thought was interesting.
Sokka's hair grew in from the sides, it was a little bit. It was very.
I think they may have softened.
Can we also point out that Sokka, even though he's not a bender, learned from every
freaking
tribe,
warrior tribe, everything.
He learned a martial art from every tribe
from all around the world.
Yo, I was like, this dude, man, and not even that, like he bent weapons, and then he like he was like oh yeah, by the way, I'm a White Lotus, and has no idea that he's a White Lotus. Like,
Yeah.
like going back watching that episode now, and like the subtlety of the like, it was so subtle that they gave him the White Lotus title, and when I first watched it, I missed it, and I looked at it now, and I was like, oh right, I forgot about that. Like, it was such a big deal, and it symbolizes so much for his growth and development as a character, man. Like, don't sleep on Sokka. I will say the transitions from going from the last Airbender series to the Korra series, I did love that as the story grew, as characters grew, the bendings and type of bendings that we saw also grew. So we saw the evolution of firebenders who can also lightning bend. We saw firebenders now can magma bend.
That was earthbenders. Earthbenders was magma.
Earthbenders can magma bend. We saw earthbenders can metal bend. Like, all these things that were stacked on top of certain things. The expansion of all of that and seeing it grow, especially in the Korra series where it's so prominent and it's almost like expected that a second type or additional type of bending on top of the main bending.
And when people get to the end of Korra and they see something and they're like, oh, this moved too fast, or this was forced. It was definitely not forced. First of all, Mako was mad dull. Let's just talk about it. He was mad dull, couldn't make up his mind, couldn't figure his life out. This girl, Asami, came in smooth like butter, teaching her how to drive, writing her letters while she was sick and out of it. Girl, she slid in. She slid in. And when I saw the way that the fan base pushed that storyline and how they literally listened to the fan base, and it worked, it was brilliant.
Wasn't it season 3 that they kind of sold that in when she kind of taught her how to drive the car? They started because it's like, if you look at their interactions in season 3, they started giving them a little bit more screen time, especially when they had that time escaping from the Earth Queen, from the airship and all that. It's like, they were syncing that. So it was kind of foreshadowing their relationship and all that.
It seems to me like every avatar is there to fix the problem of the previous avatar. Starting
100%.
Wow. Actually, yeah, that's valid.
Think about it. When we meet Aang, he's like, I don't want to deal with this. I'm out. And for 100 years, he's asleep. And what he basically was once we find out, he's there to fix Roku's mistake.
Right.
And then Korra is there to fix Aang's mistake. And then you get all the way back to Wan.
What do you consider?
I wouldn't say mistake. I would say like fix like whatever they left behind, whatever their legacy was.
But it's
so like
Aang's left behind.
So like,
Alex, what do you consider Aang's mistake? What do you consider Aang's mistake?
Aang's mistake was what you were kind of leading to, building up this elitist society. That I would say is one of Aang's mistakes. You know, in trying it, and I would say mistake is maybe his unintentional consequences. When he tried to unite all the benders, he left behind the non-benders, which is what led Amon to kind of to grow in that environment. Because if you think about it,
when he decided to remove bending,
that is another one too. You know, maybe because he introduced the fact that it can actually happen.
Yeah.
But
I don't get the hate. I don't get it.
I don't get the hate.
I knew all the stuff that happened with Korra. Like, I knew that she eventually ends up with the Sami. So I was talking to Law about this. So like, from before I watched it, because I was kind of reading up on like the lore. Like I knew she got with the Sami at the end of the series. So like I was watching the show knowing this. So kind of like looking for portions like when the show kind of hints at it. And the whole show is a lot like Korra like questioning who she really is and who she's going to be. So, you know, her dating Mako, her like trying to be spiritual, her realizing that like Asami is this person who's like her number one, who's got her back, writes letters to her and only her, and not to Mako or Bolin or to anybody else. And like, you know, she really grew as a person from the first 3 years, or the first year, which is seasons 1, 2, and 3, and then the 3 years where she's like kind of dealing with her PTSD.
Yeah,
she really grew as a character, and I don't get the hate. Like, you know, from the get-go, from the beginning, it's like Korra is not Aang. Like, she hasn't mastered waterbending, and she knows how to do the other two. And we wait 18 years, and she's doing her thing. She goes to She goes to the island to learn from Tenzin, and then she's thrown into this whole mix of the city, arresting people and stopping the triads when there's a whole system in place. And,
like Batman.
Yeah, like Batman, just in daylight.
I want to know who Toph slept with.
Yes!
No!
Two times.
Yeah, two times.
Two times.
Two times.
Two times.
Who did she allow?